Okay, I'm finally sick of it being cold in my garage, so today I'm going to insulate the garage door to hopefully help keep the heat in here longer. Okay, here's the naked metal garage that lets all the cold in, so I'm going to cover that up with some insulation. You're going to need something to measure with, any old measuring tape, anything that you could measure with. You're going to need a way to mark the measurements, whether it be a marker you stole from your kids, a regular Sharpie, or if you guys haven't tried out these Milwaukee Inks-All pens, I highly recommend them. They work really good on even greasy or slick surfaces. And then finally you're going to need something to cut with, whether it's a regular box knife, a flip-out box knife, or you could borrow a steak knife from your kitchen drawer. For some reason this one has been missing from my kitchen drawer for a few years and hiding out here in the garage. Like in just about any project to do, the first thing you have to do is measure. So I figured that the garage is simple. It is a bunch of rows and columns. So as you see here, I'm getting the height of each row and writing it down on the garage door. But this is also the first square of this column, so I measured the width of it, and I'm just going to repeat that and get the height of each row and write it on the garage door. The problem is you have to make sure to cover these spots with insulation last so you don't cover up your measurement. So now I'm just repeating that process, measuring the width of each column and writing it down on the top row. I chose to measure the narrowest part. As you'll see on your garage door, it kind of goes back in, but I wanted to start with the narrowest and then I could adjust my cuts from there. So now it's time for the insulation. So I placed the insulation there and I'm writing the measurement of this rectangle I'm working on. And then just trying to mark the edges of that so I could lay it all out with a straight edge, as you'll see here in a second. So these box cutters or knives that had a non-serrated blade did not work very good. They really tore the metal covering on the insulation and didn't really cut it very well, making a jagged edge that didn't look very good. So I wasn't very happy with the results. As you see, the steak knife became my favorite tool for cutting this insulation. The serrated blade was really good for cutting through that top metal-like surface without tearing it, and it also helped cut through the thick insulation without creating a jagged edge. After you get it cut most of the way through, you could usually pop it and see how it snaps in half, and then just trim the plastic that's on the other side. Now I'm test fitting this first piece I cut. I didn't want to make too many cuts before I verified that my theory was correct. I added about a 1/4 inch to the measurement, so it was a little bit tight, but it was still looser than I liked for that bottom panel. But that adding a 1/4 inch to each measurement worked pretty good for everything except that bottom one. That bottom panel that hits the floor has a deeper groove in it, but these other ones that fit good with that. So here I'm showing a different way I'm laying out the insulation to cut it. I'm measuring the height of those rectangles, then I'm cutting it slightly with the blade so I can stick my measuring tape in the cut, and then making the next measurement over and over again so I get all of the heights down this insulation board. I felt like this better utilized the insulation with less waste. And now I'm just getting some Sharpie markers on there so it helps me get that straight edge all the way out there. just rinse and repeat, mark and cut, mark and cut. You'll see here using the jigsaw, it did cut faster. The cuts were more jagged, but the biggest reason I hated it is that it was messy. It had way more of the insulation dust all over, and that just static clung to everything. I used it for a few of these cuts, but then I went back to the steak knife because it just was cleaner and I didn't want the insulation all over me. Okay, here I'm taking a rubber mallet and a block of wood. The block of wood is purely to distribute the force when you bang on it. I put it right on the edge of the insulation and helped it tuck under the lip of that garage door panel, and it worked pretty good. Here I'm taking off the plastic cover that has all the lettering for this insulation. I would probably do it after I cut it in the future because it seemed to help make the cuts nicer when the plastic was holding it all together, but either way works. If you haven't liked or subscribed, I'd really appreciate it. I'm trying to make as many videos and make them as high quality as possible. Now that I have insulation on my garage door, I want to see if it actually keeps it any warmer in here. Last time, the temperature in the garage was, I believe, 53 degrees, but the flashback here will confirm that. And also last time, the outside temperature was, I believe, 41 degrees. Let's ask Alexa what the temperature is today. Alexa, what's the outside temperature?
Right now, it's 37 degrees Fahrenheit.
The same thermometer in here says it's 46 degrees. So same test. I'm gonna run my 80,000 BTU heater for 15 minutes and see what the temperature is, and then turn it off for 15 minutes and record it again. Okay, that's the timer. We're starting now. It went from 46 degrees to 57 degrees, so we had a 9-degree increase, which is way more than it did uninsulated. Uninsulated, I believe, it was from 53 to 59, so only 6 degrees. So now we're starting a 15-minute timer to see if it goes back to how it was before in 15 minutes. And hopefully not, hopefully it stays warmer. Let's see. Okay. There is the 15 minutes of no heat on. And we are only down to 54 degrees. I call that a success. I know it's not super scientific, but it does show that the heater could run less, and not only will it heat it up higher, but that heat will stay in here longer. So I say it's worth the $75 and the couple hours it took me to install it, and I'm glad it was a success and not a waste of time. So.